everyone. Hey, congratulations for the year between.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
More of a congratulations that is being showcased at this year's Tribeca. How do you folks feel about that?
Very excited. Our journey, in a way, in some ways, began at Tribeca in 2018. We were part of a pitch there, and we didn't win, but that's kind of what got the ball rolling on the project. So in some ways, it feels like coming full circle in a really exciting way.
It is very exciting, especially since audiences will be watching this wonderful film of yours here. So, Alex, I guess we'll start with the origination of the idea. What actually sparked you to write this story?
Well, the movie is, I will say I wrote the first draft as a senior in college as a class project 7 years ago. And I've worked on it for several years, and it's evolved a lot. But it's mainly inspired by my own diagnosis and treatment with bipolar disorder and how I've navigated that, as well as one of my best friends around the same time as me dropped out of college, and her mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in the same year. So it's a culmination of personal experiences, and it mainly focuses on how I feel about how treatment never ends and how that should be, accepted and encouraging.
Most excellent. Emily, Wyatt, why were you two attracted to a project like this?
Wyatt?
I mean, I got the script, I read it, and I loved it. But honestly, there was one line in particular about like Disneyland or Disney adults that like really got me. I don't know why. I just think that was like on my mind, and then that somehow happened to be in the script, and I was like, oh, she knows what she's doing, is what my thought process was. And then I met Alex, and I was like, this is gonna be great, and I was like really excited from there. So Disney adults, that's why.
They are among us.
I actually had known about this, like Alex and this script for a handful of years through Susanna Fogel, who's an EP on it. She had like mentioned, like when I think you first met her, she came back and we were talking about like some other project, and Susanna was like, oh my God, I just met like the most amazing person. And I actually read like an earlier version of the script, and I was like, wait, this is gonna be so good. And then like, what, a year ago, when about just under a year ago, when I saw the script and saw it, I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. This would be so special. So I've been a fan of Alex's for a while.
Wow, that is great. And
it's true. Don't make that face. Sorry, you can't make that face. It's true.
I'm not making a face. I love you.
For sure.
I know. In reference to Wyatt's Disney adults thing, I think that was like a trending thing on Twitter, like a few times or something like that this week alone, because I didn't realize there's so much hatred for Disney adults, and I'm reading all the comments of them because I'm technically on vacation starting today, and I'm heading to Disneyland.
Oh wow!
As an adult to tag along with someone's parent and kid, and it was like going, oh, maybe I shouldn't schedule this type of vacation.
Hey, let us live,
Right?
Yeah.
But in a subject like bipolar, because it's one of those things where it's something that a lot of us heard about and a lot of us don't understand, and probably a lot more people actually have this. How besides Alex, Emily, Wyatt, how did you two research into this this subject, or do you have anybody that you know about?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I like definitely have other friends in my, like a neighbor of mine is that I'm very like good friends with. We're not just like LA neighbors where we don't talk. It's bipolar and we like talk about it, but also Alex was great with like sending, like specifically sharing like Marbles, like the graphic comic or novel, and like other like suggested reading that you didn't have to read, but if you wanted to. And because Carlin is the person that she is, I was like, Carlin would definitely research this or know about this. Since, Carlin's taken AP psychology. Come on, we watched the movie. so yeah, so I think like just reading a lot and like reading people's accounts and things to like become familiar with what it would be like to be the sibling of someone, because I don't have any siblings in general, let alone a sibling who's bipolar. So I think it was just a lot of like doing research, reading things, talking to people, but you know, nothing too crazy, just doing the things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wyatt?
Yeah, I guess mine is similar to Emily's in the sense that I kind of looked at it through the character's lens, where it's like Neil absolutely does not care, but I definitely still talk to Alex about it, and I feel like just hanging out around her kind of gave me that insight. And obviously, the script is so much, but I personally like I didn't like devote too much time researching it. It was just more like I'm just gonna hop right into it, and
Can I add something to that?
yeah.
I sort of feel like a too heavy amount of research going into a project like this could hinder the performance of a character who's playing like one of the actors in the script, like interestingly enough. Like understanding it from too much of a medical place rather than like an everyday person place. So, you know, I think that these two are just like perfect with the amount of preparedness, and it was just all I could ask for.
Well, then to you, Alex, because to create this authenticity, how did you want to basically play this character, you know, in the first place? And I don't know whether you heightened or exaggerate any aspects of the bipolar. I mean, I don't know too many. I knew one person back in college who was bipolar, and somehow he just, in the middle of the semester, he disappeared for like 2.5 months, and then he came back saying that he was, yeah, and that explained his, you know, personality a bit. But you know, we want to know, because sometimes when we're making movies, sometimes it's heightened, sometimes, you know, more of that. So how did you handle this one?
Well, I can first say that one of the most autobiographical parts of this movie is the character of Clemence, and that is pretty close to how I was navigating being a human being, you know, 10 years ago and prior. But what I also think is like with mental illness, or maybe even just any illness, there's like one sort of stock part of it that the public knows about. Like I think people kind of understand, or some people understand, that with bipolar disorder, there's like sometimes you're manic, sometimes you're depressed, but really there's so much more to it. And again, same goes for any mental illness, but I was really interested in highlighting so many of the other everyday moments and maybe the parts that are more mundane or overlooked, because that's again the majority of my experience. And I think that yeah, I think that was really important to show those parts, and those and what like mainly for me, the part that I wanted to highlight was like how my behavior as an untreated mentally ill person had affected the relationships in my life, and how beginning treatment began to open my eyes to that so that I could begin to fix them.
So in such a dramatic role movie like this, how did you three develop your sibling, you know, chemistry with each other? And sometimes do you feel bad during the heated arguments of the scenes?
It was really hard to become friends with, but no, I'm kidding. We had a lot of fun. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say it came really naturally. Like it was like we just had a few times where we went out and like got to know each other, and then we were just kind of like thrust on the set and doing our scenes where we're yelling at each other, and it was like obviously there was no like malice towards each other. It was just kind of fun, and like I don't know, it was just it came very easily. I think Alex, I believe it comes from like the top of the chain, so I think Alex really helped foster this sibling relationship and all the relationships in the movie as well, like including the whole family and stuff. So I think we were lucky to get such a good cast and such a good director, actor, writer, you know.
There was a moment when the three of us were like cruising around in my rental car around the southwest suburbs on like a weekend night with nothing to do, ran out of gas and had to like go to this gas station, and it was, and I, at that moment, I remember thinking like, wow, we are basically actually siblings.
Okay, also in that moment, Wyatt like without just like didn't say anything and then started like cleaning your what's it called, your windows, like like this is great, this is amazing, it was really, but also one of my favorite moments, or one of my favorite like scenes to film, or recurring sort of type of scene to film, was when we would do family dinner, because like those scenes were sometimes like very tense, and we'd get into the scene very quickly, but then like we would just start laughing and go on these like very like family, like it was just like, I don't know, you couldn't stop us from all hanging. There were good vibes from,
yeah, Jay and Steve were like a big part of this too. Like there were just so many times when I had to wrangle this family because we were having too much fun and we needed to get to work.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Jay and Steve are like veteran actors. I mean, what was it like working with them, or having them as your parents in this case? Who wants to say?
I think Jay was fun because she came in like pretty quickly and like immediately was just like a sweetheart. She jumped in, and her first scene was like the bathroom scene with Alex, which is like very intense, like fight moment. But then we kind of had like a week with her where everyone was like bonding, vibing, and then Steve came. And I think that there was like some like, oh, like cautiousness with like, we didn't know, like there's a new person on set and it's like, how does he work? And like, is it gonna, and then immediately we had like this car scene that we all filmed together, the entire family. And I forget what the exact conversation was, but I just remember it was something that completely broke the tension. And from there, it was like chill vibes for the rest of the shoot. It's kind of how I remember it. I don't know.
What would the rest of you?
I'd say like it's really, it feels really cool to like be able to act alongside such veterans and like just work with them, and they were so sweet and amazing. And it's like I kind of like went in like, oh, you know, these are pretty prolific actors, but it wasn't intimidating at all. It wasn't like anything bad. Like it was just like it felt cool to be alongside them, and nothing more than that, honestly.
I mean, that's the thing about like really wonderful actors, right? Is they're generous. And like, that's what the two of them are.
Yeah, and for me as like a first time actor, this is not just Jay and Steve, this is like all of these guys, like the four of them. Like I needed this really strong ensemble surrounding me to support me and bring out like the performance that I did, because it was so crucial. I mean, it really, how talented these guys were gave me the opportunity to act in the best way that I could.
I was going to bring this up, Alex, because it's very challenging just to, you know, write a story. Then it's very challenging to direct it and then to act in it. I mean, how do you balance all these hats all into one project?
I mean, the best way you can set yourself up for success is to surround yourself by an amazing team, an amazing cast, and kind of like work as much as you can on the off moments and beforehand to develop some sort of rapport and a system with them. Because once you start shooting, it's like, it's, especially with a tight schedule and like an indie movie, it's kind of just like go, go, go. So it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was extremely hard for me. I will not sugarcoat it. It pushed me to the absolute boundaries of my own sanity, but it was also the most fun I've ever had in my life and made me grow more than anything I've ever done. I think like brass tacks, I don't know if I used that right, but from a practical point of view, like when you're acting and directing on a set with like a short amount of time, or, you know, you got to keep the pace going if you want to make your days. I didn't have time to watch much playback. So there were just so many shots that I did not see until we were editing. And again, that was, we made this movie because the actors just nailed it. And if they hadn't, I don't know, be a different movie.
Awesome. And one scene I do want to talk in particular about, and we could easily focus on, is you shaving your head thing, because as people could watch us noticing your short hair. But how did that scene came about to the story, and for most people who want to make their acting debut, they would not do that.
Yeah. Wouldn't recommend it. No, it's fine. So I can say, fun fact, that was the very first scene we shot in the movie. That's the only time my real hair is in the movie, when I'm shaving it. I wear a wig for every other scene in the movie, of different lengths, different wigs. And I got the inspiration because my friend, who also inspired part of this story, shaved her head in after her like mental breakdown, so to speak. And I think body modification is something that people who are going through a tough mental time sometimes turn to as a way of trying to change something about yourself. Or I don't know exactly where it comes from, but I know it is a common thing that happens. And I was scared as hell to do that, like, especially again, it being the first scene that we shot. But part of me knew that, like, if I wanted to really transform into a character and start to create a bit of a divide between like who I am as a person and this piece of art, a physical transformation like that could really help me like depart from who I am and enter a different version of myself.
Wow, most excellent. Well, let me start wrapping things up. What's next for all three of you now? I guess we could start with Emily.
Yeah, I have like a few other like another movie that's supposed to come out later this year, and then I'm working on like a piece that I'm writing and want to make. So just working along. But yeah, very excited to be here for the film.
Excellent. Wyatt?
I'm working on an Apple Plus show right now called City on Fire. It should come out sometime early next year. I don't know.
We never know about these schedulings. Alex?
No, we don't.
I wrote another movie that is not a comedy and is very different from this, but I can say, like, for now, really just my focus is on seeing this through and seeing what comes of it. I'm like full year between mode right now, so that's kind of where my head is mainly at.
Well, it's everyone's year between. So congratulations once again to all three of you for this film. Thank you for this conversation, and it's going to be a delight at Tribeca this year. So I'm excited for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.